A very special segment that we're going to finish up with. We mentioned earlier that this last June, the hospital in Coalinga closed, and that was a blow to our community. As you know, we have a community there where there's kids playing football and college students, and if someone gets hurt, it's an hour away to the nearest urgent care. And it's a scary situation to live in a rural community without a healthcare provider. And so Wayne Allen is with us today, and I'm going to invite him up. He is the person who's been brought in to reopen the hospital in Coalinga. And I've invited our chancellor, Dr. Van Horn, to just sit with Wayne and have a public-private conversation, if you will. They're going to chat a little bit about what the challenges are, why that hospital closed, and why can't we just open the door tomorrow, and how we as leaders can be a part of supporting Mr. Allen in getting that hospital back online. So Dr. Van Horn and Wayne Allen, let's give them a nice welcome.
As many of you know, substantial hardship in the community of Coalinga with the closure of the medical center, and that happened several years ago. And there has been a substantial impact on the morale of the community, the well-being of the community, which is now faced with traveling close to 60 miles to the nearest medical facility for that town of 18 to 20,000. Sent shockwaves through Westside, and Wayne has been tasked with trying to figure out a way to rebuild the facility, the licensure, and all the steps. So Wayne, I want to thank you for being here. You have an incredibly important job, a lot riding on it. We're all here today, and one of the messages I heard was that all of the speakers have extended the opportunity to do partnerships of some sort. And I think I also have heard throughout the day that we as a collective group have the capacity to do more. So I think for you, Wayne, this is a unique opportunity to perhaps give a little background and begin to think strategically of ways that we as a body can assist you to recover from what is a very difficult time in the life of this rural community. So Wayne, thank you for your comments.
Thank you for the introduction. All those comments are welcome. Let me quickly about myself. I've been a healthcare senior executive for many, many years. Is that term?
It's not.
Whoops, there goes. Okay, now that's what I call stage one, is where I've been sitting in senior roles of CEO and COO and CFO at a few hospitals. Many people, I doubt if there's a single person in this room that has my other qualifications, which then you move on to stage two in the healthcare business, which is not necessarily what you want to do, but some people have to do it. And stage two is where you have to go in and close hospitals. I have done that for the last 5 to 7 years. And then fortunately, I've been on stage 3 of my career where I have the good fortune to restart or have a new beginning with some hospitals. So that's very important too. So I have that kind of background. It's important that I do, because at times you feel like you're out here all by yourself. And comment I would make that bothers me, that has not been used in this meeting, but I'm going to bring it up because it's happening in rural America. The statistics show that there's about 97% of our land area in the United States, 97%, and there's 20% of the population that live there. So we're out here in the open spaces, and I understand that. And then also, out of the 4,800 hospitals that are in the United States, there's about a fourth of them that are the same like Coalinga. There's about 1,300 out of the 4,800 that are small, what's called critical access hospitals, 25 beds or less, and they serve a remote area and the country and the rural area. And about 700 of those 1,300 are financially distressed at the moment. So it's not a good scenario in that regard. What's happening? What's happening? Rationing of health care. Think about that. We're sitting over there in Coalinga. We do not have access to health care. We have one emergency vehicle, one. Well, lots of times it's gone. It's out of town on a run. We have none. People are either postponing their emergent medical needs, or they're having a family member throw them in the back seat and get them over to Fresno or Hanford or Bakersfield, someplace, and that's not acceptable. We are going through, in the local basis here and in other places we're going through rationing of health care. Not acceptable. Access to health care to me throughout my career has been very right up at the top, along with safety and quality. But you can have all the safety and quality. If you don't have any health care, then that doesn't matter. But we're experiencing rationing of health care. I've made some good contacts today and got some business cards, and I'm going to be following up with certain people that can help us on this restart. We officially closed the hospital on July 19th of this year, 3 months ago or so, and I expect to get it reopened in the next 6 months to get it reopened. We've had a couple interested buyers step up with proposals recently. The board of directors heard a proposal given to them last night that was exciting. We'll have another one tonight from a second buyer, so we have some interest out there, but there's no deal that's been inked yet. There's lots of problems and issues to work through, lots of work to be done, but it's upon us as a local community, along with the supporting friends that I've already uncovered in this room today, and reach out to those people. I've got Bob sitting back there ready to go in Sacramento. That's very reassuring to me, because we're going to need the help of all those people we can get this buying arrangement in place where we can fast track the reopening and get out of the rationing of health care. It's not acceptable. Those people in Coalinga and the surrounding community don't deserve that. And those other 700 hospitals that are on the distress list don't deserve what may be happening to them. It's a very subtle way of doing something. I've lived through many cycles of health care, and what's happening now is all the consolidation is all happening in the bigger cities. I listen to descriptions about how busy emergency departments are and how people are expanding capital projects, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm familiar with that. I've worked in a bigger corporation at one time called Dignity Health, and I know how they were consolidating their resources into certain mega centers and that nature. The days are challenging where the bigger hospitals and systems would deal with what I call a hub and spoke. Maybe they have a hub in Fresno or Bakersfield, and they'd have the various spokes that came out into the smaller communities. Those are evaporating, they're gone. We're finding ourselves out there in that area, and it's a very nice area, and it's a growing area, and businesses need their local access to health care. And there was an article in the pamphlet that I had included that deals with that. It's got some yellow highlighting that I put on there, and it takes you 5 minutes to read that article, and it's very powerful about the expressions being said. I've said them myself 100 times. The board has heard them 50 times from me, and they're probably getting tired of that, but all of those statements are very relevant. If you do not have a hospital in a city, a town of that size, you've got access to healthcare problems, obviously, but you've got people leaving town. I was told last night by a public member that she is considering, or not considering, is going to have to move because of her health. She's going to have to move and locate to a bigger metro area because she cannot be in an area with no access to health care. That's not what we need in America. That's not what it's all about. And I think when we, I know it's a small population of 20%, but we occupy 90% of the land, we have certain rights too. And one of them is access to health care. And we don't have it now. We do not have it. I'm hopeful that I can come back here or start getting some email messages out to certain people that we've cut a deal, and we're going to I call upon all of you to help us. Our access to the workforce is tight, just like it is in the big cities. I know people all over several big cities, and they're having problems with workforce recruitment. So we have that, but we also have a lot of advantage in a smaller community that we can play upon. That the big cities, when it takes you 2 or 3 hours round trip to commute to work, well, is that really worth it? So there are some people that may want to relocate to areas like ours, and we need to capture them. And there's certain grant programs that the hospital can pick up with student loan repayments and physician repayments, and make those kind of things all fall into place. So it's challenging. Do I have a lot of positive, aggressive belief that we can survive? Yes. But we can only do it with a compassion for wanting that hospital to be in our location, why it needs to be there, because it's easy to throw up your hands and say, and walk away. And that's not the answer that I have. And so that's kind of a quick synopsis. We had 24 acute care beds licensed in the facility and 99 skilled nursing facility beds. Skilled nursing facility beds in the state of California are in scarce supply, very scarce supply. For us to have to crash those 99 skilled nursing facility beds was terrible. Those patients there are residents for basically a lifetime. And many of them are local people with their friends and relatives in the neighborhood. And so they got transferred to 300 or 400 or 500 miles away because getting into a SNF unit these days is next to impossible. So we did that. We did all of that closure in a safe mode, which I was pleased about. And now we're going to go about the reopening, hopefully.
And Wayne, Coalinga is a town that you'll fall in love with. You just don't know it when you get there. And over the years, the availability of educational access to higher attainment institutions, the availability of consistent health care are two foundational pieces for the well-being of the communities, but they also extend towards business attraction, business retention, a variety of economic development initiatives. Could you speak to what you've seen as some losses around the economic development as a result of the closure?
Yes, I can. The one general statement that's made for the entire population as a whole, and some of it's true, a little bit of it's not, but they talk about in any rural community that the people there, the population there, they're poorer, they're sicker, and they're older. Those three characteristics. I think maybe the older and sicker might be okay. I don't know about the poorer, but anyway, with those three statements, then what that means to me, they are the most vulnerable population out there, and then to have them taken advantage of is kind of insult to injury. So that's very bothersome to me. The economics of and the well-being of the community, I gave you that one small example of some people saying they're one person is going to have to move, and I've heard of some others. That, and then the thing that does happen, and it happens when businesses want to relocate or stay there, and they find out the hospital's closed, or the hospital, they don't even, when they're trying to relocate and work through their Chamber of Commerce, then the first question they're going to ask is probably about the school system and maybe the churches, and then definitely about the hospital. Oh, we don't have a hospital. Well, the meeting's going to go not going to go very long as far as that new business wanting to relocate. So it's a major detriment, and it doesn't belong in our setting, and we're going to turn it around. It takes effort about it. It takes thinking outside the box. Maybe all of the services or the way we used to do it is not how we're going to do it in a month or two from now, and that's fine. The old story about if you keep doing the same thing the same way, you have problems, and we're beyond that, and we're going to restart it, energize it, and get some kind of out of the box services brought in there that might shock a few people to think, wow, what's little Coalinga doing with those kind of services? So, and we need the support of our neighbors and friends and our government agencies, and I believe we have those, and we'll and that's how it's going to happen. I'm not going to. I can't do it by myself. The board is very engaged about this and aggressive, and they'll do their part, but it takes the bigger hold of us.
Would you leave us with a sense of optimism?
Yes, I think in rural America, and I can just speak, although I've had too many bankruptcies that I've had to deal with and too many closures, so I'm not speaking just in an isolated way from Coalinga, but Coalinga has a bright future, yes. I would not be putting in the effort I'm putting in, and when I arrived there just in about 8 months ago, that place, I describe it as a crown jewel. That hospital is so well maintained, in good shape, with good equipment. It's a crown jewel, and it stands up there in my experience with any of the medium-sized and biggest hospital I ran was 350 beds. It's on par with that kind of hospital. As far as the physical structure and some of the equipment, yeah, it doesn't have all the services of a 350 bed, but it's a crown jewel. It is absolutely a crown jewel. And people I've taken around agree with me. So,
Wayne, on behalf of the West Hills Community College District and everyone here today, we're with you. I want to thank you for your personal leadership, that of your board. You have some of your board members here as well that are trying to re-engineer, re-envision, and restructure this hospital. I want you to know that all of us on the west side are with you on your left and on your right. And don't hesitate to reach out to us if there's anything that we can do to strengthen your position, to foster accelerated timelines, and to reach the finish line to resurrect what is an absolutely crown jewel of the West Side. So how about a big round of applause for Wayne?